What types of texts should you send women? I'm going to be taking you through a real text conversation I had, and we're going to talk about what types of texts should you send women. Because with the 5 principles of texting, the idea is you're going to be texting a lot less, but the texts that you do want to send are going to be more powerful. So what types of texts should you send? And pay attention in this video to, there's 3 main principles going on. Principle 1, the confident mindset, fire and forget. That whole thing is just disciplining yourself to follow principle 2. So the principle 1, that confident mindset, is you don't see it in the text, but the idea is when I say something like, I wait this long to respond, that is that principle 1 mindset of knowing what to do, why I should do it, that confidence. And then principle 2 is actually like what you'll see. Mirror texting is how you can actually see that in your conversations, but principle 1 is what allows you to follow through with principle 2, because principle 1 is all about understanding what women want and having that confident mindset. Principle 2 is just seeing it play out. And then finally, the one that really is going to be hit here is principle 4, autopilot texting. And the idea with this is, with the text that you want to send women, we want to send her texts that snap her out of autopilot zombie mode. When she gets lost in, if she responds really, really fast because she's just used to texting back and she doesn't think about it, we want to take her out of that. We want to stop her in her tracks and get her to think about our text. And so that's what we're going to be doing with principle 4 in this text example. What types of texts should you send, girls? And to preface this, I never want to get to know a girl over the phone. I want to text as little as possible. So I don't send these types of texts until I've established mirror texting. That's principle 2, mirror texting. Until I've done that for a little while, where I'm noticing that she's starting to reply to me quicker than I am to her. So I keep it light, playful banter, the first back and forth. Principle 1 and principle 4 are in action. So principle 1 is the invisible part, the mindset, the confidence. Principle 1 is when I say keep conversations playful and light at first. If you just get a number or you're just messaging a girl on Tinder, the vibe you want to send, that principle 1 mindset, is that this dating app or texting is not your life and you don't take it that seriously. You have other things going on in your life. That's that confidence, that status. So you don't take the online dating app or your texting all that seriously. And this is completely opposite of what I used to do. So what I used to do is I would think when I first start to get to know a girl, like with our phone, that I had to go through all that small talk crap to make her comfortable. I had to ask her, what did you do? Or, what do you do for fun? Do you have siblings? What do you do for work? All of that small talk stuff is stuff that I used to get out at first. But what that does is she has those conversations with every other guy online or texting that doesn't know the 5 principles. So what happens is when you ask her these small talk questions at first, she goes into autopilot zombie mode. What happens is she hears a question she's answered 1,000 times. You ask her, what do you do for fun? Okay, she's answered that 1,000,000 times or whatever. So now she just instantly replies without thinking about it and sends a reply because she's been asked that so many times. So by principle 4, autopilot texting, you want to avoid that. You want to play it differently than other guys so that she sees you in your conversation is different, so it intrigues her and she wants to get to know you more. She wants to go on a date with you. And how you do that, this is tricky. So really read principle 1 again if you have the 5 principles of texting, or go through texting mastery, especially principle 1. You want to, early on in conversations, so before that gets boring, you end the conversation. Hey, I got to go to the gym. That keeps her wondering. That avoids that stalemate autopilot because she doesn't really know what you're up to. You want to avoid those small talk questions. I never talk about anything heavy, religion, politics, none of that early through texting. I play it off like I have more to my life than my phone, which should be true in your life too. And then once you establish that pattern, then you can start to send texts like this one you're going to see. But this comes after you follow principle 1. That is why that's the first chapter in the ebook. That's why that's the first module in the Texting Mastery video course, is because once you do this first, then it allows you to go into principle 4, which is the text you're going to see here. These are the type of texts that you can send after this part is established. And then these are the types of texts that I want to send, are ones that let her really talk, let her express herself, and let her really get her emotions engaged. So I say, I want to know what excites you. So this is after I've been very busy, not texting her back very quickly. So finally, when I do send something like this, then she's really ready to answer, because I haven't been like this from the start. I haven't been just trying to get to know her like an interview, like most guys do at the start. So what things do you look forward to doing because you love doing them? When I say that, like, I want to know what excites you, I'm trying to use that word excite to really bring up her emotions. I don't want to just say, what do you like to do for fun? That's not horrible, but I guarantee she's been asked that before. This is asking almost the same thing, but it's just worded a little differently, and that will in turn make her actually think about it and then give me a real answer. So when you ask something that everyone else asks, then she might go into autopilot and give you a kind of a canned response. But just by changing the wording, I want to know what excites you. What things do you look forward to doing because you love doing them? She thinks about it. That is principle 4. The meat of it right there is principle 4. You really want to decide, what are you going to send her? What came to your mind that you wanted to send her? Let's just say it was as simple as, what do you do for fun? Now you take that, and I break this down in principle 4, especially in Texting Mastery. I go through that in the videos about ways and activities you can do to become better at this. But your job then is to go, what should I send her? Okay, what do you do for fun? That's what your first thought might be. Now you go, well, other guys have asked her that. Yes, other guys have asked her that. Now, if I still want to know what does she do for fun, just take that, think strategically, how can I ask her that same question without sounding exactly the same as other guys? Even if it's a slight tweak, it could be the same question, but if she hears it a different way, now it stops her. Now she has to think about it, and now you took her out of autopilot because she had to stop and think. Now she's putting her thought energy into it, and now she's giving you a response, but it's a different response than every other guy that asks what she does for fun, because you just said, and let's see, I'll pull up the text, like, what do you do that excites you? And I mean, what do you do because you love doing it or whatever? That is exactly the same thing, right? Is asking, what does she do for fun? But I stopped, I thought, and I just tweaked it a little bit. And then I try to make it as short as possible, so I don't send her a novel, and then I send it to her, and that will snap her out. Again, I do this after I've established principle 1 and principle 2. She doesn't give a autopilot response. Instead, she said, oh, that's such a great question. If I had to limit it to a few things, I'd say I wake up in the mornings for a good run, friends to talk to, sunsets, family time, most outdoor adventures, maybe yoga, and definitely coffee. So this told me a lot about her, and I got to know more about her, but she doesn't know a lot about me, so she's still really excited to get to know me on the date. Anytime I send a text like this, it's letting her talk, but I'm not going to come back and answer a same question like this. If she were to ask me the same thing, I would take a while to respond. I would answer something kind of like maybe sarcastic, change the subject, because I want her to get to know me on a date. And the more that she tells me about herself now in texting is good, because she's investing more time and energy into the conversation. But I'm going to let her pull information out of me slowly because that's what women like to do. It's kind of a fun little game. You can get her to talk, but try to play it cool yourself. Don't blow up her phone. Right here, if you were to just stop and only tweak your messaging to take what you want to say and change it around to give her a fresh way to answer that question, a fresh way to look at that question. If you just did that, you would be ahead of so many men. And now we can take it a step further. So whether you're texting or in person with a woman, everybody loves to talk about themselves because we are familiar with ourselves. We know ourselves, so it's really easy to talk about. And you or anyone else in the world, I don't care how unselfish you are, if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, something you believe in, something that you love to do, you could talk about it for hours. And it feels so good if there's somebody that's willing to listen to you and just to hear you out. That just feels so good. Now, in your texting or in your conversations, you can do this same thing by withholding when you want to talk. For instance, she mentioned this long text here. She mentioned all these things that excite her. So she talked about like yoga, coffee. She talked about hanging with friends and family. Now, what I would have done in the past is I would have said, she sent me this long text. It's only fair that I respond with a long text and I tell her everything that I'm passionate about or that excites me. That's how I would have used to do it. Instead, what I've learned is that it's actually way more unselfish if you withhold that information and you keep trying to pull more information out of her. You want her to feel like you're listening to her, like you understand her. That's how you can connect with women. So let's put this, instead of texting, let's just say that her and I were having a conversation on a date. And she just mentioned this whole thing about what excites her. I could pick any one of those topics, yoga, coffee, friends, family. And now, so if she responded with this whole thing in person and she goes, all right, Adam, enough about me. What excites you? What I would do instead of answering, and this is what is going to separate you from all other human beings, even when you talk to other men, this is such a great skill to have, is instead of you sharing what is on your mind, sharing your hopes and dreams and all that, I would stop her and I would just go, wait, hold on. Before I answer, about your family, like you said you're really passionate about your family. What? Tell me about that. I'm close with my family. So what, do you have siblings? You have, tell me about your family dynamics, your parents. Explain that to me. Now you can take these conversations, the little small talk that would have been before if you would have asked her about her family and you put her into autopilot. Now, since she's excited and you opened up her like floodgates, now she's excited. Now when you mention, hey, that family thing, she is going to talk about it in a whole different way than if you tried to talk about that with her at the beginning of your texting before you had even known her. So now that I found out what excites her, she told me, she gave me all these things. Now all I have to do is pick one of these things that she mentioned that I'm actually curious about, and now I ask her about that, and now she lights up again as she talks about her family. So every time I'm getting more information, she's feeling heard, she's feeling understood. And now we can have this great conversation. I get to learn a lot about her. I get to see what excites her. That is so attractive. If you're a guy and you talk about what you're passionate about, that's really attractive to women. But the same thing is when you let a woman talk about what she's passionate about, man, there's just something beautiful about that when her eyes light up and all that. So you do that, you are going to set yourself up in another category. And it starts with doing this over texting. So you're going to withhold your want, your desire to spill your own stuff on her, and instead you're going to keep asking her questions but you're doing it in a way that she's excited about the conversation the entire time. And then I pointed out at the arrow, because if you notice, she took 2 hours, over 2 hours to respond to my text, which is okay because we were both going back and forth pretty slowly. But then you see, because of that, I didn't respond right away. And so 20 minutes later, she sent another text. Also, let's get this to the next level in this relationship. What's your last name so I can put you as more than Adam, cutest teacher ever in my phone. So that was fun. She's cute. So anyway, there you go. That is just an example of how to get her emotions engaged. Just take what you're normally going to say. First, set your pattern as a kind of a slow text or a busy guy. Then, whatever you're going to ask her, try to word it in a way that she hasn't been asked before. So instead of me saying, what do you do for fun? I said, what do you do that excites you? What do you do because you love to do it? So it's the same exact question basically, but worded a little more creatively. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, share the video, but definitely subscribe. Peace.